In the pantheon of fighters, there are warriors and there are icons. Rose Namajunas is an icon. Forged in the crucible of combat, her story is an anthem of resilience. Thug Rose, a nickname that never truly fit. Beneath it, there wasn't brutality, but steel. The same steel that allowed her to dethrone the invincible queen, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, twice. Her calmness in the face of the storm, her quiet confidence, embodied in three simple words, "I'm just the best," became legend. She was a symbol that the strongest spirit is a quiet spirit. She seemed unbreakable, but every anthem has its whisper, a story told in the dark, a story a billion-dollar corporation tried to bury forever. This recording is not just an accusation, it is a verdict on a system that protects its monsters. Tonight, we open the grave where this secret was buried. This is the story of how the UFC bought a victim's silence to save its king. The year is 2017. The world was at Conor McGregor's feet. After the financial downpour of the Mayweather fight, he was no longer just an athlete. He was a phenomenon, an icon, and a deity to the UFC. And like any deity, he was allowed everything. The UFC built around him not just a cage, but an entire kingdom of chaos, where the laws of morality and ethics ceased to apply. Press conferences devolved into circuses, parties into orgies. He was untouchable. But behind the curtains of this theater of the absurd, an invisible army was at work. We spoke to a man who was part of that army, a former security officer whose job wasn't to protect Conor, but to clean up after him. They called us the Ghosts, because we had to make it like nothing ever happened. He trashes a hotel room, we pay the manager in cash, and the incident disappears. He gets into a bar fight, we find the witnesses and convince them they saw nothing. We weren't security, we were the king's sin eaters. And the more he drank, the more paranoid he got, the more work we had. Everyone knew something truly terrible was going to happen one day. It was just a matter of time. And that day came, at a luxury hotel in Las Vegas, after yet another press conference. In the eye of the hurricane named Conor McGregor stood Rose Namajunas, quiet, introverted. She always tried to stay far away from the madness. But that night, the madness found her. We will not dwell on the details of the alleged assault. Our story is not about the crime itself. It is about what followed, the cold, calculated corporate execution of the truth. Within 30 minutes of Rose's manager, Pat Barry, storming out of the room in a rage, the ghosts were on the floor. But this time, they brought the high command, the UFC's lawyers. According to our source, Operation Save the King began immediately. No police, no doctors, a complete information lockdown. I saw Pat. He was ready to kill someone. They locked him in one room, Rose in another. I saw her face when they let her out. The fighter was gone. It was just a terrified girl. And then he arrived, the lead counsel. He didn't bring sympathy. He brought a contract. The UFC bought the silence, but they couldn't buy the soul. The trauma buried under tons of legal paper continued to seep through. And if you look closely, the traces were there for everyone to see. Remember the infamous bus attack? The official story, Conor was hunting Khabib. But let's look at it from a different angle. Rose Namajunas was sitting by the window. For her, this wasn't just an attack. It was the same monster returning to remind her of his presence. She said it reminded her of past traumas. But what if it reminded her of something that happened far more recently? What if she wasn't afraid of the broken glass, but of the man who broke it? And her sudden decision to shave her head. Yes, it's practical for a fight, but in psychology, it's a known gesture, shaving trauma. an act of desperation, an attempt to reclaim control over one's body when it has been taken from you. And the biggest clues were in her career. The long, unexplained layoffs, the sudden talk of retirement, the loss of motivation at the peak of her fame. The press wrote it off as burnout, but what if it wasn't burnout? What if it was the weight of a secret too heavy to carry alone? The corporation did everything to erase her, first through violence, then through money and threats. They thought they had broken her, but they were wrong. Rose Namajunas came back. She became a champion again. And now her famous phrase, "I'm just the best," no longer sounds like a statement of fact. It sounds like a challenge, an act of defiance. It's a message not for her opponents. It's a message to those men in suits. It's a message to her demons. It's a message to the world. You tried to destroy me, but I am still here, and I am the best. The statute of limitations on most non-disclosure agreements is 5 to 7 years. Perhaps that is why this whisper has finally broken through. We have presented you with a story. To believe it or not is your decision. But ask yourself one question. In a world where a star's reputation is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, how far will a corporation go to protect its investment? The answer, we fear, is obvious. Subscribe. The truth must be heard.